Everybody's anxious to listen.
Okay, we'll get started. I'll call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. Today is April 18th, 2019. The first item on our agenda is adjourned at the applicant's request, and it'll be rescheduled for May 2nd, the same night that the public hearing is scheduled. Item 2 on the agenda is Golfo Development, discussion of a two-lot minor subdivision.
I just put this on the agenda for a quick overview, or if the board had any questions or needed reminding about anything. We had discussed this a while ago. It's pretty straightforward. Since the last discussion, they went and they got all their variances from the Zoning Board of Appeal for insufficient lot size and lot width. Unless the board has any questions, there's just some, minor revisions required as conditions. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward unless the board has any questions or anything you want to ask me about.
Did the applicant agree to all the conditions?
I did forward the draft resolution to the lawyer, Sean Walter, and he had no problems with it.
Okay.
He just couldn't be here today, but he didn't inform me that he had any issues.
All right, vote on it under resolutions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Silverman is adjourned again?
It's adjourned again. We have an action deadline of May 4th. It's already on the May 2nd agenda, so we need to capture it just in case, but I suspect that there's going to be another request for an adjournment.
For an extension? What are we waiting for?
From what I understand is the applicant wasn't thrilled about the resolution. They were trying to come up with some alternative language, and nothing has been resolved. At some point, we just gotta make a decision whether or not we're gonna go forward with what we have, or we're talking about Henry Silverman.
I met with Charles Cuddy a few days ago, and we're trying to come to some language that we might give you to make a move on that. I wasn't ready to.
No, but the point is.
No, it just,
Deadline.
they have until the 4th.
He'll extend that.
He'll extend it again?
Is Mr. Cuddy?
No.
I haven't seen him.
Okay. I can call his office. We're actively talking about it. We're not far apart. Languages,
And he's aware of the deadline?
very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 4, comprehensive plan update.
I gave you a copy of the memo I previously sent to the town board, and I sent you an email just to give you some ideas about what you would like to see covered in the response from a prospective consulting firm. So, meeting with the town board a week next Thursday, and we'd like to have your comments before then. And it's mostly like a brainstorming session, so you can email me between now and then, that would be fine. I throw out some ideas myself in my email to you. George mentioned something that is of interest to him. So if you have anything that is specific that we have not addressed in my email to you, that you would like to see covered, just some of the highlights of my email to you were obviously the reduced demand for big box retail along Route 58. How is the retail market changing? We need to update our population employment forecasts, how much and when. A lot of things have changed in terms of land use since 2003. Downtown development has been a real hot topic in the last year. Is the 5-story, 60-foot tall buildings good thing, bad thing? Where should it go? From the TDR committee, they want to have more sending and receiving areas. How can an existing TDR program be improved? Do we need to take a look at tree clearing or reduce or increase land development in the town? How do we plan for resiliency, sea level rise and global warming? And what does all this do to our tax base? I mean, we can talk about it, and it's nice on paper, but it's gonna have a real financial impact on the residents of this town, so that's gonna be a critical part to everything that we do. And this is gonna be a long process, this is not gonna be a short-term analysis, this is gonna be a multi-year project.
So are you looking for individual comments and recommendations from the board members, or do you want it agreed upon from the board to give to the town board?
I think individual comments are fine at this point. Like I said, you can email them to me, that's fine.
And there's an RFP out.
No, we're not sending it out until we get your comments, and then I have to wait to hear back from the town board members as well. And then I'll revise it accordingly.
Okay, I mean, I do have a pretty extensive list, but I'll put it in writing
Okay.
and I'll email it to you.
Perfect. Okay, great. The one thing, also along that line, Robert, do you remember John Shapiro? He has agreed to come back and pay us a visit. John was instrumental in preparing the 2003 plan. He is a college professor. He's one of those planners that when you meet with him, he's got such an energy and positive aura about him. Makes you feel good about yourself as opposed to some of the other things that we do as planners. And he's agreed to come back and visit us, tell you his thought during the 2003 update, kind of look at where we are now, see what he got right, see what he didn't get right, and just kind of give us an update on, to see how the town's doing, and from what he was looking at back in 2003. That was a long time ago. So, when he comes, I'll send you out an invitation, but I think it'd be very interesting, very telling.
To one of our regular meetings or a special?
I gotta talk with the town board and see, maybe a town board work session, it might be an afternoon meeting, depending on everybody's availability. I'd like to have as many people come as possible.
Sounds good.
Something to be learned over 16 years, no question about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I wanna be here 16 years from now and have to do this again.
Once in a lifetime.
This would've been my second one townwide, and, I gotta tell you, it's an exhausting exercise, because for every subject, transportation, open space, land development, public, utilities, everyone has its own advisory committee, and there's gonna be a series of committee meetings throughout the year. Barbara's been through it, knows this intimately. Yeah, 5 years. It takes about that long to go through this. It's not a short-term project.
Is parking going to be a consideration issue?
It can be. We have a parking study underway right now through the community development, and that should be made public shortly.
Which is what, a study?
For the downtown area.
Long overdue.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So after we get you our comments, you'll
I'll talk-
formalize them and give them to the town board?
Yep.
And then we'll be invited to the town board work session?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, just want to ask you a question. I know Enterprise Park got adjourned, but is everything on the website for the public to access it?
Yes, we posted them the day after the planning board meeting. They had previously put them under hot topics, to which nobody who knows, even the people who know the website and know what we're talking about, could not find them.
Right.
And they had put them under hot topics, which I didn't think was acceptable because of the importance of the matter. So we had to get IT to put this section for EPCAL back on the front page,
Okay.
so you click on EPCAL and everything should be there.
Okay, try to keep that updated as best you can, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And after the last meeting, there were several questions that I presented that I wanted answered before we move forward with any resolutions.
That's correct.
And I would hope also that the town consultants are here and available to answer public comments at the next meeting.
With regard to that, we no longer have the assistance of Mr. Seaman. He, his contract expired and he has not, renewed it.
So then how can this board move forward on a resolution that he worked on if we can't answer the public's questions? I don't think it's our job to answer the public's questions.
Either myself, Mr. Ehlers, or Mr. Eisler, are going to be available at the meeting, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability.
They can't bring him back. I mean, this is a very important issue that the town's facing.
I'm not part of his contract negotiations, I just know that he submitted a letter and declined.
Oh, they gave me an offer? Made an offer?
Again, I'm not part of the contract negotiation with him, I just know that he declined.
To come back?
Correct.
Okay. You ready to pinch hit, John?
Nothing to do to him.
Okay, before we do the resolutions, are there any comments from the public on the three resolutions that are on the agenda?
Angela Vito from South Jamesport. On Resolution 2019-029, it's more of actually a question. It allows to approve a two-lot minor subdivision creating two undersized parcels. RB 80 calls for 2 acres. We already started with an undersized parcel of a piece of land that was 1.127 acres, and we're further making it 2 smaller subdivisions, 2 smaller parcels out of it that are approximately, rounded off, 1/4 of an acre. I mean, they're not, they're half acre each. When the purpose of creating these zone use districts, when we went through the exercise of the 5 years and arriving at all of this in 2003, and then through all of the public hearings to create zone use districts, and that was to meet the goal of how we were going to expand and allow for increased density within the town and population and that. And things such as this seem to fly in the face of that. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around how this type of subdivision could even be entertained when it starts out not meeting the requirements. If it was a 2-acre plot, then it might be reasonable to do this sort of thing, and I know that I was not at the ZBA hearing for the variances for this, but I know that they base their rationale, the rationale for the variances on the Amendment 5 of the U.S. Constitution for due process. And I have arguments that I don't agree with them on that, but it just seems that this flies in the face of what we have enacted, and I just don't understand how this could even be considered, so.
I think as
I'm sorry.
part of the board's consideration, I think we look if it's gonna be added character for the area. And we were advised that these lot sizes, or proposed lot sizes, would be very consistent with what's in the immediate neighborhood there. So it wouldn't stick out or create any issues.
Well, part of, there are, for example, I live in the South Jamesport area, and many of the original plot sizes for homes down there was a half acre or 1/4 of an acre. People subdivided and did that, and they built small homes. It's homes that are less than 1,100 square feet in those areas. What we have seen with the allowance of, not from your board, but from the ZBA, homes that come in that are out of character with all of the homes in the area. And while this may be in character with how the land is divided around in the area around this parcel here, what will eventually wind up with it may not be in character with the rest of the surrounding community. And I know that your job is one thing and the ZBA's is another, but it would be nice to perhaps have some type of coordination of this, because it just has, I can tell you, it has drastically changed the character of South Jamesport. in terms of the homes that are there. And I'm not talking about the 5,800 square foot home at one end of a lane, or the 3,000 square foot home at the end of another one, or the new 3,800 square foot home that'll probably go in on an acre of land where it's 2 acre zoning already. I'm talking about just the smaller plots where you have literally 6 to 8 feet between homes. I mean, it's just, it has drastically changed. And I know that was not the intention when the decisions were made, but that is the result that comes there. So I just, it's bothersome to me, this type of subdividing, further subdividing, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the resolutions? Okay. First one.
Okay, I'll move resolution number 2019-29, the subdivision for Golfo Development.
Second motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 29, Golfo Development. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved. Number 2 for Eastbourne.
Discussion on Fadoons.
Mr. Chairman, there are actually two resolutions. There's the one that I had previously emailed out to the board, and then there's the other one that is in your in-baskets today. So,
Did Mr. Cuddy review them?
he saw the first one. I did not send the second one out to him because of the lateness of getting the resolution and getting it to you, so he has not seen the second one.
So I don't know that it's fair that we,
It's
what's
not
your
fair,
question?
no.
Well, I think it's a little overreaching. I'm trying to figure out which one I had here.
The one dated April 18th,
Okay.
one that's dated April 18th.
There's one that says draft on the front cover and one that doesn't. They're both dated April 18th.
No.
This one here, subject under the final resolve, the number 4, I would make a motion to strike that. I just find I have a problem with it. No equipment, vehicles, motorcraft shall be stored along or near the east fence line. I mean, in my opinion, if he owns the property, I don't think we should be telling him where he can put his stuff. Where are you gonna put it, in the middle of the property? Of course you're gonna put it on the edge. That's, I think it's a little overreaching myself.
Could I make a suggestion? Anne Marie and I were speaking just when I was late getting here, because I was trying to learn what the farm committee had discussed. And there's a memo that she wrote on April 12th. I don't know if that was shared with the board or not.
Dick O'Day shared that with me today. They were also opposed to that.
I think there's some concern about the language, the way it's written, but maybe there's some other language that they found acceptable. It just seems as though perhaps, and Mr. Cuddy's not here, would you like to table this till the next
No, I
meeting?
think Mr. Vadoon's here. I'm
Oh, okay.
sure he
Yeah,
wants to.
There's a reason why that was included, perhaps not that language, and the reason was, there was a complaint from the homeowners who purchased their homes there. They bought it with the understanding that there was not gonna be any future building except for the envelope, and now stuff, dilapidated boat is being stored right in their backyard. So
I
the people
don't-
who, the point is the people who paid millions of dollars to buy this property and allow the farmer to develop it are now getting it stuck in their face and looking at all this equipment up against the fence line.
Right, but I don't think Mr. Fadoon has to supply them with a view. If he's not building something.
Well, I
there.
think it's a matter of being a good neighbor too, so I
went-
agree
he-
with
he
that.
is- He is,
I
I
disagree
went
with
by
that.
there. It's pretty well organized. I thought it was well done.
2 months ago, none of that stuff was stored there until this application came in.
All right, well, I would, if we're gonna move on this today, which I would recommend, I would move that we strike, item number 4.
So the boats can stay in people's backyards?
They can either put up a fence or bushes. I don't think he has to supply them with a view. It's not his responsibility.
It's not so much the view, I think it's, a dilapidated boat in somebody's backyard. He can store all the farm equipment or any agriculture-related equipment that he wants there, tractors, but an old boat or
I
unregistered
disagree.
vehicles?
I think he could be able to store whatever he wants on his own property.
Well,
I would make a motion to remove 4. Let's see.
even
what
if
the
it
board-
has strict covenants as part of the subdivision approval?
I don't see
Open
him,
space
I don't see him
Green
violating,
space?
I don't see him violating it.
You don't think an old broken-down boat violates that?
No, I don't. I think it's his property and he gets to use it the way he wants, as long as in,
There's one phrase in here that says additional buildings, and he can't put any additional buildings up anyway.
Right.
So we don't need, you don't even need that particular item, because he can't build anything. He's used up his, he's putting his building.
Right, but we wanted to
right.
capture that because the same thing happened over on Demchick, the other half of this. They keep coming back and trying to do more and more and more, and they come back to the board and ask each time, so we're all on the same page here.
The question I didn't ask the last time was the barn that exists. I didn't ask the question, and I should have. He can still repair that barn because it's pre-existing. Is that correct?
Yeah,
That's a correct statement.
I don't think there was any intention of doing
Well,
anything with that barn.
He said it's dilapidated. He did say it was dilapidated.
well, he said it needed repair. He didn't use the term dilapidated. While I don't believe that junk vehicles, are appropriate, and I think the commercial, I don't know where I read it. I thought on the last one, we were talking something about commercial vehicles, rental of commercial spots for storage. I think that's appropriate, that it be farm use only. What I didn't like, and I'm agreeing with Ed, on some of it, I get the additional buildings. But the thing I didn't like more than anything else was that it's a farm, but he can't have anything, let me use the proper language here. Should be limited to agriculture, shall be limited to agricultural production. Then it says the property may not be used for marketing, retail, or processing of agricultural products. How do you do both? Would you say that packing tomatoes, packing melons, that's production, I would think. I don't know if I like that language.
Anne Marie, could you comment on that?
Sure. So it's my understanding that this parcel was preserved as a result of a cluster subdivision, and actually 2 farm lots were created. It's further my understanding that there are covenants on both those farm parcels requiring that they be limited to agricultural production. Under New York State Ag and Markets Law, agricultural production and land used in ag production does not include that portion of land for marketing or processing. That is not, quote, under Article 25AA, Section 301, subsection 4, land used in ag production.
So again, that's my whole point, that as a condition of approval to get this cluster development, certain conditions were agreed to, and each time they come back and they want to do something different. So the barn is allowable, and he's using up the floating envelope, but not to capture everything else that may have occurred or may occur in the future, I think is a mistake, because they just keep coming back. And I don't think a boat stored in somebody's backyard who paid all this money to develop the property and allow the farmer to get his subdivision is fair to them. So, and
So, and just speaking to that, when you talk about agricultural production and buildings and equipment for agricultural production, clearly a boat is not one of those. And the property, because of the covenant and restriction on it, it can't be used for the storage of a boat. It is to be agricultural related.
Okay, all right, now, all right, I have a better understanding now, but, I mean, just to keep the boat in focus for a second, if he stored it inside, it's fine. I mean, it's a building, the man owns the building, if he stored it in the corner of the building, would it, that's a restriction, I mean, that's a tough
Well,
restriction.
if I may, and the assessor's office can verify, it is proper and in furtherance of agriculture to have an agricultural storage building. That storage building is for storage of equipment related to agricultural production. The assessor's office has, on occasion, have had to, quote, violate a farm entity for conversion, meaning recapture of property taxes because they're actually, let's say, using a barn for the storage of their vintage cars. That is not permitted under New York State Ag and Markets Law, and there have been opinions rendered from the Office of New York State Ag and Markets stating that's not a proper use of a building, and that building is not entitled to an agricultural exemption because it's deemed not to be utilized in furtherance of the ag production.
Right, so this is all based upon the original cluster zoning
Right.
that they allowed. Okay, well then,
And,
it's
and
pretty
then
clear.
the one thing, if I could add, so when the Farmland Committee reviewed this, as we started when I first sat down, this was a cluster subdivision wherein 2 agricultural lots were created. Both agricultural lots were, quote, worded, I believe, basically identical, talking about a floating building envelope and the limitation of 6,000 square feet for additional structures, worded barns, comma, residential, comma. In the previous application that had come before you, I provided Jefferson has a copy of it. The Farmland Committee's desire always is, even for themselves, to be consistent. So if you look at the, quote, language of your prior resolution regarding the other farm lot, this one essentially mirrors it, I believe, except for the fact the difference was the other farm lot did not have any indication that it was being utilized for anything other than agricultural production. You did not have the storage of boat or vehicles unrelated to agriculture when that lot came before you. The farmers on the Farmland Committee, when we met approximately second Tuesday of the month, were aware and had themselves observed the boat on the property and other items on the property. And that's why they expressed during their meeting, they had no objection to actually spelling out and reciting that, because it was a violation. Unlike the other piece of property when it came before you, there was no violation. There was no boat storage or anything like that.
Okay, so if it's against the covenants now, why does it have to be spelled out in here? Why can't enforcement handle it? I just think this is, if I was me and you told me I couldn't put my boat there, I'd put a pig farm. That's what I would do. And I just think this goes way over the top.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
right, I'll just give an opinion. When an applicant comes before a board and arguably, for lack of a better word, has unclean hands, typically, when that board is going to make a determination or grant relief, they address that issue that they know exists, which is in violation, because you don't want to, quote, be on the record giving an approval when you know there's a potential violation on the property. I mean, I'll tell you routinely, if an application comes before the Farmland Committee and there is a known violation on the property, they will condition and not allow the issuance of approval or a building permit until there's a remedy of that violation, and they recite it, they make it a condition. If you don't correct the violation, no permit will ever issue.
Did they do that in this case?
You said they mentioned.
Condition it.
Yeah, at the time that they referred it to the planning board, they did not observe and had no knowledge of the boat. I believe this application has been pending, not for too long, but for some time. So when this came before the Farmland Committee on Tuesday night, and they had their agenda and knowing it was coming on, observed the property. And that's why it made sense to them, okay, I see why the condition is in there regarding not storing of boats, you know.
Non-agricultural.
Right.
You said the magic word, violation, you're in violation, you're in violation.
So just for the record, if he wants to put boats and vintage cars in his barns, I don't take any exception to that. They're stored away, but if you don't see them and it's his barn, fine. It's the covenants that went along with that property that the people bought under those conditions, and now something's being done there that they didn't think was ever gonna happen. And I don't think it's fair to those residents.
So you think it's fair that a farmer can't even park his equipment on that
No.
fence line? That's what it
No.
says?
Not you're reading the old resolution, it was amended
Okay,
for
dated the same day.
non-agricultural.
And I agree with you on that point regarding the equipment, and so did the Farmland Committee.
Right. If I could
And
ju-
so,
They revised it.
yeah, because they found that unacceptable, because the easiest example I could give is,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're all aware of the watering device that looks like a big wheel in the
Yep.
field, and you have pipe connectors for the water. Typically, what a farmer is required to do, depending on the area that he's going to irrigate that day or that week, is you
That's the right one.
load all the equipment to that area,
Same date.
and it may take them a day or two to actually get it up and running. So they were very fearful of the prohibition about storing agricultural equipment on the property, whether it be described as on or near any property line. They're like, that's an integral part of agricultural production. You have to be allowed to have the equipment. You can't be forced to move it at night, during the day. I mean, it's gotta stay there sometimes for 2-3 weeks. And you're gonna see those white pipes lined up maybe along the property line, because that's where
But
they have to
the
use it.
resolution was revised, and that's
Right.
fine.
Okay.
Yep. And it
Mr.
says-
Padun, did you ever receive a copy of this? Could you read it now?
John,
Just-
can you give him a
Well,
copy
I
of the
think, I think his attorney should look at it too.
Yeah,
the resolution that you just gave me? Yeah, give him a copy.
You got to take mine.
Give him, yeah, give him two, that's fine.
I don't know.
All right. Hey, Ed, John, give your copy to Ed.
Yeah.
We have extra copies, Ed.
Well, on the old.
Same thing,
not the
same
new
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wasn't,
So I think we should get a copy of this resolution to
We have to ask the chairman.
Mr. Cuddy, and we'll table it until the next meeting.
I'll move the table resolution 219-030 until our next meeting in May.
second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to table resolution 30. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Now you showed up.
Okay, number 3.
I'll move resolution 31, Sons of Riverhead LLC, to set a public hearing for a site plan application to split the former Sports Authority in Riverhead. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 31 to schedule a public hearing for Sons of Riverhead. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's a good
Resolution's
one.
approved.
We're finally getting that, some tenants and getting that vacant store.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, any comments from the public on any matter in front of the planning board?
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. Barbara Blass, Jamesport. In March of this year, you adopted resolution number 20, which authorized the publication of a public hearing notice on the Epcal subdivision, which is going to be held in May. The acreage specified in the resolution is incorrect, and more importantly, it is also incorrect in the hearing notice, which was actually published as of today. The resolution and the notice calls out acreage in the amount of $2,323, 23 acres, when in fact, the acreage on the map is $2,107. I did it again, 107 acres, 2,107 acres. This is a significant discrepancy. The notice is seriously flawed, and I respectfully suggest that the notice be republished and reposted, the property be reposted as a corrective action.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a happy Easter.
You too.
Sure.
I just want to address the board about, I don't understand what all this.
Sir, can you just say your name for the record, please?
Excuse me?
Your name.
Dave Fadoon, about the Fadoon barn. I don't understand what all the hoopla is about parking a boat. It's my property. I don't understand, like across from the firehouse on Riley Avenue. We all know there's a house over there and there's junk all over the place. Nobody says anything about that. He's got everything next to the line and stuff and everything. Going back to the boat, there was a tenant house next to about 10 feet away from the property line on those houses and stuff. Been there for 100 years maybe and stuff. It was falling in on itself and everything, and nobody complained about it or anything, but it was bothering me. The roof was coming down and everything. I said, you know what? I says, I had enough of looking at that. I'm gonna take that down. I had it demolished and stuff and everything. But around there I had a lot of junk. I took 2 loads down to Crown, recycling and stuff. And the boat was there. Where am I gonna put this boat? Let me move it out of the way, because they're gonna demolish the barn and some other old equipment I need, but I don't use all the time and stuff, but you need it occasionally. I'll put it over there, get that out of the way. That's why that boat is over there. This is news to me. As far as I know, nobody has ever complained about it. Nobody complained about the tenant house. They like looking out on the farm and stuff. They come over to me, ask me what I'm doing, you know, and I think they're good neighbors, and I want to be a good neighbor. So all this stuff about a boat, I just don't understand. You're gonna have to go to all the owners in Riverhead Town. They got boats on their property, anything. They got parked right on the line and stuff. I'm sure the neighbor next door doesn't want to look at that boat all the time,
There's a difference with your property. There's a difference with your property. You applied for a cluster subdivision 10, 15 years ago. These ones that you're referencing didn't do that. There were specific covenants that went along with your approval that were listed that have to be adhered to.
Right.
So your comparisons are not equal.
Well, I still don't understand it. I mean, that's me, you know. But nobody has said, complained about anything. No, that's what I'm getting about too, you know. And then I says, I want to put a barn up and stuff. I'll leave that stuff over there, keep it out of the way, because I really don't have any place to put anything. Everything is kind of like out in the open. Everybody can see, you know. So I just don't understand. That's what I'm trying to say, you know, why all of this. And then I can't put it inside. Well, you know, I want to hide it, where am I going to put it? Further down the line at the next house and just keep moving it, you know? I don't know. That's me, so.
Yeah, Mr. Fadoon, I would advise you to speak to your attorney in reference to this matter, show him the resolution, and
Right.
we tabled it for a couple weeks, so you have a little time,
Okay,
okay?
thanks.
Thank you.
I apologize for being late. Farm Select Committee, as I guess you know, was in favor of items number 1 through 3.
There is another resolution dated the same
Yeah,
that
it was revised since then.
Number 4, they would,
Was revised.
okay.
Okay, so we tabled it, so. Actually, you know what? I think it's- Yeah.
Anyone else from the public want to address the board? Okay, minutes of April 4th.
Motion to move the April 4th, 2019 planning board minutes, so moved.
Second. A motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of April 4th, 2019. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next meeting is May 2nd, 7 PM. Motion to adjourn.
Have a nice Easter, everybody.